Hi there. So I needed to make a pot to put my screws in because I'm forever losing them. And I'm just going to make a little pot like this with a little partition in the middle. And I'm going to show you how to do it as well. So we are going to begin by creating a box. First of all, I'm assuming you've installed Fusion 360 before and that you've installed it and you've at least created something rudimentary with it. So assuming that you've got everything installed and ready to go, I've created a new document called Simple Bowl. I'm going to click on Create here and then I'm going to click on Box. And you'll notice that several planes are being highlighted here. I'm just going to orient myself properly. You can check your orientation with the cube in the corner right here. So if you're getting confused, that's how you fix that. I'm going to click on this plane here, which indicates where I'll be drawing. I don't want to create a super big pot, so I'm going to make it 50 millimeters by 50 millimeters, like so. And once the basic cube appears, you've got a couple of different options. You can either type in your measurements manually. For example, I can type in 50 here and it will increase it to the size of 50. I'm actually going to create it as 25 instead. And then I'm going to click on OK. Now you do have new body, join, cut, intersect. This allows you to subtract from other shapes, join to other shapes, etc. In this case, I'm just going to create a brand new body. So once that's created, I'm going to double click on the body and I'm going to name it pot. And once we have our basic shape, we need to hollow it out so it has something to put the screws inside. Now there's a couple of different tools we could use for this. If you want a flat bottom, you can use a cylinder tool. If you want a curved bowl like I do, then we can use the sphere. So I'm going to use a sphere and I'm going to click on the surface I want the sphere to be centered on. So I'm going to click in the middle of the top surface there. As you can see, I now have a draw point and I can now extend it out however I wish. As you can see, I've got it set to 40 millimeters right now. We can afford to be a bit bigger than that, so we'll try 45. And the trick is to have the sphere relatively close to the bottom, but not too close because we want some material between us and the side of the bed, especially considering we'll be 3D printing this. So we're on the cut operation here, which automatically subtracts this sphere shape from the box itself. Click on OK, and then we have that nice bold indentation. Now the next thing I want to do is bring in these corners, because as you can see on my little one here, I have that sort of curved shape rather than just a basic cube, which you can have as well if you want to put a lot of them together and fit them well together, but I'm going to have a little bit of style. So I'm going to use a fillet tool, and I'm going to do so by clicking on these edges here. I'm holding down the Shift key as I rotate around and click on the different edges. If you're wondering how I'm rotating my mouse, I'm holding down Shift, I'm holding down the middle mouse button, and I'm dragging it on the page. Now I can grab this arrow here and I can start filleting it in as far as I want. So that looks, if I do this, it will go to a complete circular bowl if you wish to. But if you just want sort of rounded corners the way I do, then you can drag it in as far or as little as you want. So you can have something with very slightly edged corners or something a bit more profound, which is what I'm choosing. I'm then going to click on OK. I'm going to orientate myself above it and I'm going to draw another box. So I'm going to create box. I'm going to click on the top surface here, which is where I want it drawn, and I'm going to draw from the edge and I'm going to approximate the middle. Actually, I'm going to press escape. I'm going to try that again. So box, click, and this time I'm going to use the guidelines. I can zoom in here. So this is centered. So I want this -25 guideline. I'm just going to make it 2 millimeters thick, which are these two blocks here, and then I'm going to drag it all the way to the other side, and that will become our partition. So I can adjust these measurements in a moment, and let's call that good. So I'm now going to make this 2 millimeters thick. I'm going to drag this handle downwards all the way to the bottom. And instead of clicking on cut, I want to select join. And that's how I'm going to add the partition between those 2 points. Once I'm satisfied that everything is within the bounds of the box and there's no weird things happening, I click on OK. And now that becomes part of the shape. And just like that, we end up with a little bowl to hold your screws and things in. Now, if you remembered, you could also have it flat-bottomed rather than bowl-shaped. Exactly the same instructions. The only difference is use this cylinder tool instead. So if I was to mock that, I'll click on the middle, same way I did before. I would drag it out and drag it down like so, and cut, and now I'd have a much deeper, flatter bottomed container. Control Z to undo that, but it gives you some additional options. Now, of course, you could have this partitioned 4 ways, 3 ways, 8 ways, however many sections you want to put into this. 2 is fine for me, 1 for my bit, 1 for my screws. I tend to use M2 screws and a 2mm bit so I can keep those together depending on the project I want to work on, and it's that simple. So yeah, we now have that ready to go. Now, to save this, what we need to do is just hit Control S on the keyboard, which will save it automatically, and then we want to export it ready for printing. And we do this by clicking on File, and we do this by clicking on File, and then you can either use the 3D print option, which will send a file over, but I tend to use Export. And you select STL file, which is my basic standard, and I click on Export. Now this will go up to the cloud and be converted, so I've got to wait for that procedure to happen. And once everything's been converted, we can then show in Explorer. And as you can see, I've gone through various generations of this bowl. I'm just going to close down my print software. And it does take a few moments for this to actually come back from the cloud. In the meantime, so it all comes down in one go. We then click on Show in File Explorer. It will highlight the file you just created. Double click on it to open it in whatever slicer software you use. I use Flash Print, which comes with my printer. And then we just start slicing. So once I slice, I tend to whack mine up to 230 because it's winter and it's a little bit cold. I don't need a raft for this because it's being printed directly to the bed anyway. Click on Slice, and this should take about an hour and a half to print out. So if you click on Slice Preview, there you go. So about 1 hour, 44 minutes in order to get this basic container. And that's it. You've made a very simple container that you can use. If you want to download my model, you can do so on my website. The resulting print is this little pot. As you can see, I've put some screws in there already. It's got plenty of room for when I'm disassembling all my electronics. And because it's partitioned, I can also stick in my bit so I don't lose it. Now I have all my M2 screws organised and ready to retrieve at a moment's notice. If you are interested in downloading this model, simply head over to ckenthusiast.com, head over to 3D Prints, and you'll be able to download it from there. And while you're here, you can also check out my YouTube and TikTok channel, and why not check out some of my books, Build a Business Website Fast, Build Responsive Websites with HTML5 and Bootstrap 5, Kids Learn Science and Invention, and Kids Learn the Internet. Everything is available on demand on Amazon in both digital and printed forms.